Good afternoon. I'm Gene Rossi, and I'm very excited. It's my maiden voyage on the Law&Crime Network, and I have my Jersey girl, Linda Kenney Baden, and spiritually, my old buddy, Bob Bianchi, is here with us, and we're going to talk about, I can talk about the main camera. Thank you so much. I'm learning. And we're going to talk about the Ryan Duke case. We already played a couple of clips about the Claudia Herod case. But before we get to those trials, those murder trials, and they're very exciting, we have my favorite segment, True Crimes.
This is today's True Crime update from Law&Crime. Robert Bowers, accused of killing 11 people and wounding 7 at a Pittsburgh synagogue, pleaded not guilty to 19 additional charges in federal court on Monday. He also requested a trial by jury in his case. Bowers already pleaded not guilty to 44 other charges. Prosecutors say that during his rampage, Bowers allegedly spoke of his desire to kill Jews and had a history of posting anti-Semitic conspiracy theories online. The new charges include hate crime violations, obstructing religious belief, and using a firearm during crimes of violence. Prosecutors in Massachusetts are asking a judge to order Michelle Carter to begin serving her 15-month jail sentence for encouraging her boyfriend to kill himself. Carter was convicted in 2017, but has remained free while her case was appealed to the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court. Last week, Massachusetts' highest court upheld her conviction. Carter was convicted of involuntary manslaughter. A judge ruled that Carter was responsible for her boyfriend, Conroy Royd's death when she told him over the phone to get back in his truck as it was filling with toxic gas. Her lawyers say they plan to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. New York City police are looking for a Bronx woman who allegedly took a baseball bat to the window of a restaurant because it was out of her favorite food. Recently released surveillance video shows the woman doing her best Babe Ruth impression on the windows of the back home Jamaican restaurant. Police say she became infuriated after ordering a beef patty and being told that the restaurant had run out. According to reports, the attack caused over $2,000 in damage. No word yet on whether fellow Bronx residents, the New York Yankees, are currently scouting the new local prospect. This is today's True Crime Update. I'm Rachel Stockman for the Law&Crime Network.
All right, I love Babe Ruth, but I never take a baseball bat to a fast food restaurant. We're now going to go to the Ryan Duke bond hearing. All right, for those who are just tuning in, that's a bond hearing in the Georgia versus Ryan Duke case. The victim is Tara Grinstead, and she's missing. We don't know where she is. Allegedly, the defendant and maybe one other person murdered her and burned her body. And I want to turn over a couple questions to my great guest, my fabulous guest, Jersey girl as we call it, and the great Linda Kenney Baden. And I have a couple softball questions for you.
Oh, good, good. Not like that baseball bat thing that we just saw.
Babe Ruth.
Boom. Yeah.
At a bond hearing,
yeah.
What is the strategy of a defense attorney at a bond hearing if the government's calling witnesses? And
okay.
Yeah.
So for those who are familiar, then some jurisdictions we call it a bail hearing as opposed to a bond hearing, which means can you get out by posting money or on your own word that you have your assets behind you and be available then for trial, right? And so the goal of a defense attorney, number one, is to get the bail. In other words, to let the person out on trial, before trial, because it's easier to prepare. Right. To make sure that it's a low bail, because if it's a high bail, no one's rich enough in these worlds to give that kind of money unless you're, you know, a mega billionaire. Yeah. And also to ensure the court that indeed by doing so, the person's not a threat. But how you do this is really important, because what the defense attorney here, Ashley Merchant, is doing very well is she is getting what we call discovery. Yes. She is cross-examining the lead investigator for this case. Yes. And she's going to try to get him to say certain things that she then can use at trial to show the jury reasonable doubt.
We are now going to turn to a break. That was Georgia versus Ryan Duke. I apologize. Big difference between Ohio and Georgia. That was the bond hearing with the lead investigator. I want to ask Linda Kenney Baden a softball question. Okay. Babe Ruth. At this hearing, right, is the defense attorney doing a great job in getting evidence to make a motion on appeal or an issue on appeal regarding the denial of the request for funds for an investigator?
Sure, absolutely, because we're hearing testimony that Ryan Dukes tried to commit suicide several times. So by not having any funds to investigate whether he's perfectly kind of person who will give a wrongful statement to the police, or an investigator, you know, you get an investigator in a burglary down the street for a murder case, absolutely.
Good, good. I did want to ask you this. Why did the prosecution put the lead investigator on, knowing that the defense attorney is going to have a field day getting discovery?
Because this witness is the one who talked to both Dukes, especially Dukes, and Bo Dukes and Ryan Duke, okay? Bo Duke said Ryan did everything. Ryan confessed, but then was suicidal, was crying. So the question is Bo Dukes, who's been arrested for another sexual deviant crime, really the one he should have investigated more rather than saying, okay, I believe everything Bo Duke says and accept Ryan Duke's confession?
You know, this case is very similar to California versus Chase Merritt.
Yeah,
Chase Merritt's the defendant, and you got Dan Kavanaugh. These murder trials are very similar.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we as defense attorneys don't usually get the chance to cross-examine the lead investigator in a murder case at a bail or bond hearing, as it's called.
And on that note, we're going to take a break. I'm Gene Rossi of the Law and Crime Network. We have Georgia versus Ryan Duke. This is one heck of a bond hearing, and I have my special guest, Kenney Baden, and we're going back to the bond hearing. I'll tell you, folks, this is an incredible bond hearing. The defense attorney is doing a phenomenal job. She hit an oil well. I mean, an oil well. Kenney Baden, what do you think?
A gusher. Ashley Merchant's a great defense attorney.
Yep.
And she just learned through this that Bo Dukes, who's now in jail for committing a violent sexual felony assault, that this police officer, the detective in charge of this investigation, never interviewed his past girlfriends, apparently, and if he had, to find out that he was accused of raping one of the past girlfriends, that he has a violent sexual history, and that he had chose to accept Bo Dukes, whatever he said, over Ryan Dukes, whether or not Ryan Dukes is a false confession. I don't know about you, Gene, but I don't go back to a place I've committed murder and sleep at it if I wasn't the murderer.
You know what, Linda? I totally agree with you. I think the defense is doing a phenomenal job. We have to take a break. Stay tuned. All right, folks, I tried cases for about 30 years for U.S. Department of Justice. I never had a bond hearing like this one. Never. It is filled with intrigue and clues and leads. And Kenney Baden, what are you getting from this bond hearing?
Yeah, you know, when I was a prosecutor, I mean, if I had to go through a bond hearing or a bail hearing, as we called it, I mean, I put the least amount, the person who knew the least about the case, since hearsay is admissible. But let me tell you, I'm worried about this case here, whether they don't have Bo Duke's charge. Reason why, he says he sees strangulation mark. Well, how does he know that unless he's somehow strangled or had some kind of relationship where he's strangled and can see the marks? He talks about how the person here, Ryan Duke, knew that bodies don't burn. He said 2,000 degrees. That's not quite right. It's about 1,500 in a crematorium. But that's a sophisticated person. You just can't. Remember the making of a murder case? Mm-hmm. You don't put a body in a burn pit and have them burn and everything goes away. Teeth, fillings, all the bones, just like that.
Yes.
So I am worried here that perhaps the prosecution, the desire to charge somebody and get this case solved, that maybe they have either the wrong person or there's a co-defendant out there who really is guilty of the crime and sitting in jail for something kind of a violent act against another female. It is very concerning, and all this is in a bail hearing. We're finding this out.
Folks, what you're seeing here is a bond hearing that's basically a mini trial, and Linda brought up some great points. We may have a co-conspirator, or Bo Dukes, D-U-K-E-S, not Ryan Duke, may be the one who committed the murder. We also have a motion for an investigator that was denied by the court. And it is unbelievable that we're getting all this information from a bond hearing. So, having said all that, it's the Law&Crime Network. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Oh, my goodness gracious. This is the bond hearing of all bond hearings. We're talking about the JonBenet Ramsey case, discretion in recording confessions. This is the cross-examination from HE double hockey sticks if I were the prosecution. They opened the door. Oh, my goodness gracious. What do you think, Linda?
Yeah, absolutely. There was only 4 little factors that had to be important here, and they opened the door, and now Ashley Merchant is driving a Mack truck through and getting discoveries she'd never get. False confessions. One of the issues is the judge didn't give money for a false confession expert. Now the police is saying, yeah, false confessions should be happening, and there must have been a block, but I really know nothing. But I do know there was a false confession in this high-profile case of JonBenet Ramsey. And as there was in many cases, Gene.
Can you tell, okay, for those listening, the JonBenet Ramsey case, you probably remember it, some of you, there was a person who was flying back from Thailand, and he confessed to the murder of JonBenet. He landed, I think, in Denver, and it turned out on the day of the murder, he was in another country or Alaska. So he gave a classic false confession. Why? He wanted to get his name in the paper.
Right.
Is that fair?
That happens. There's old cases called the Charles Lindbergh case back at the beginning of 1900s, the first one.
Yeah.
Many people, over 200 people, I think, confessed to murdering the baby. It happens in high-profile cases, and it happens with people that also are suicidal, that have kind of like a diminished capacity and police pressure, all sorts of reasons.
Let me tell you something. This is an incredible case, and I can't wait for the trial. The Law&Crime Network. We'll be right back. Folks, this is an incredible bond hearing. I can't believe, Linda, I can't believe how much information is coming out of this hearing. This cross-examination is a treasure trove. I want to talk about 2 things, consensual encounters and the Reid technique. I'll talk about that and then turn it over to Linda for the Reid technique. A consensual encounter, folks, is when a law enforcement individual meets with somebody and that individual is allowed to end the interview at any time. So that's a consensual encounter. Miranda does not apply. Miranda applies if you have custody and interrogation, but not a voluntary interview. Now, the Reid technique, R-E-I-D technique, Linda, what is that?
Well, I just tweeted about this yesterday and said it produces so many false confessions. I mean, there's a New York article on it, but we attorneys know it's technique talk from a guy back in Chicago who wrote about how you take statements from people and get confessions, but the object is to get a confession, not necessarily a truthful confession, which is why the Innocence Project reports that 1 of 4 people exonerated by DNA wrongfully confess to a crime because the cops are usually using this technique, Gene. She is getting information. Ashley Merchant's a great defense attorney right here.
Wow.
The judge is smiling, by the way. Did you notice that?
Absolutely. I got to say, the judge likes the defense attorney. You can just tell. He's got that Cheshire Cat grin.
May not give her bail.
Yeah, amen. But at the end of the day, I don't think we're going to have bail. We're the Real Crime Network. We're going to take a break. Linda, this is an incredible bond hearing. What do you think?
Well, I was about to slam my computer, but then I would need a new one. Look, we want to get the right person. This poor family doesn't have the body of the murdered daughter, cousin, whatever she is to everybody. People go to a burn pit where the body allegedly happens. They don't see any evidence of it. You can't just burn a body. My husband, by the way, was watching. He sent me a thing that the orange flames are only 1,000 degrees, And what I'm saying is that I'm outraged that after all these years of investigation, there may be the person, there's 2 people's DNA they can't exclude in the house, but they can't find the defendant's DNA. Yeah. I mean, what the heck? I'm just outraged because for this poor family and this poor victim, I want the right person called.
So, Linda, we have a possible false confession. We have a possible hiccup with DNA. We got this weird thing about the voluntary the consensual encounter,
Right,
Miranda.
guy who's suicidal.
We got Bo Dukes, D-U-K-E-S,
Right.
not Ryan Duke, no relation. And we could have a third person.
Right.
We got semen on the bed.
Right.
I mean, what the heck?
The only person whose DNA is not there is the person we're trying.
Oh my God! Have you ever seen a bond hearing like this one?
No. This is that's why we can't talk as lawyers about this is great, but this is amazing that she's able to get into this, Ashley Merchant. It shows good preparation, good work, and the prosecution thought they had to do more to be able to prevent Ryan Duke from getting bail or bond, and this is what happened.
Folks, I got to tell you, we got to go back in the courtroom. It's too exciting. We're going back in. I got to tell you, this is fantastic. Linda.
When you say that, you mean by it's great suggestion of a defense attorney in cross-examination, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And what I want to tell the folks at home is this is very unusual for a bond hearing because you don't get this much information from one witness. You don't get this much information at all. Most bond hearings are probably 5 minutes. This one is at least 5 hours.
Yeah.
Linda, let's talk about Bo Dukes.
Yeah, Bo Dukes. So first of all, let's talk about the fact I have a camera here. This detective just said I'll video you right now, Gene, and everything here, and we'll put it on Twitter later on.
Yes.
I am videoing everything that is happening. What do you mean you can't video a confession because and Bo Dukes, he didn't think it was important enough. He is now saying to go back and maybe reassess the evidence based on the knowledge that he's a possible rapist, a possible assaulter, felony, or against a guy who had kidnapping against a guy who had 2 DUI convictions before this. I mean, could it be that Ryan Duke just helped dispose of the body and that Bo Dukes is the real killer? Yes. I mean, she proved it to me and we're not even in the trial.
Okay, where is Bo Dukes right now?
In jail for another matter because the marshals had to pick him up, and their contention, the defense attorneys, they're now asking for bail or bond because now that he is way behind bars, Ryan Duke is no longer afraid of him, and he was afraid of him. That's why he did all these things.
You know what? It's going to be a Pyrrhic victory for the prosecutors. They are going to defeat the motion for bail.
Right. And
but
the defense.
They have lost the war here.
And the defense is now going to go back to the judge and say, now I would like the funds for a false conviction.
Exactly.
Now, and he may give them the funds for a false wrongful conviction expert.
And
false confession,
the lead investigator said the file is about 12 feet thick. Okay.
Wow.
Well, we got a cross-examination. It's about 3 feet thick.
Right. And we have bones that they said they couldn't identify because they burnt them too badly. Well, come on. I mean, we're making of a murderer, that case that we've all been following, that they want that the defense said they could take burned bones and get DNA, and then it was denied by the state on the basis that, well, he's already been convicted. But there's things here that are very bothersome because the criminal justice system is to do justice, get the right person. Let's get the right person.
Absolutely.
Maybe you have to reassess it here.
Absolutely. For the viewers out there, what I want to tell you, I'm looking at that camera. I guess I'm not.
Yes, you are. You're looking at that camera.
All right, here we go. Folks, this is my maiden voyage, my first time hosting on the Law and Crime Network. It's the best program in America, folks, especially when you have Linda Kenney Baden, and I'm working with Bob Bianchi. Mm-hmm. This case, Georgia versus Ryan Duke, is fantastic. And I want to tell you this, stay tuned, because we now have the daily debrief with Aaron Keller, and it's coming up next. Thank you.